Today in this workshop we will speak about COVID-19 psychological impact and how we can provide an effective psychological first aid. During times of pandemics or epidemics, also in times of disaster, there will be physical as well as psychological impacts. Human beings are, there will be, during these stressful events, everybody is thinking about the physical component of the human being. But what about the psychological component, which should be addressed during the times of disaster? Otherwise, there will be a lot of sustained psychological trauma that need maybe stay for long times after the pandemic or after the disaster. In times of pandemics or in times of emergencies, their losses can be tangible. This will be in times of, people who died, we love them, and losses of lives. And there will be also intangible loss, which can be in the time of feeling of loss of well-being and also fear of death or uncertainty about what is going on. All this can lead to a broad spectrum of psychological feelings that could be in terms of public fear, which can be like market, panic, or could be also in the terms of anger, depression, and even those feelings can be sustained for a long time, even after recovery from the pandemics, such as COVID-19. What is psychological? Everybody can provide psychological first aid. What is psychological first aid? Psychological first aid is the humanitarian supportive response that everybody can provide. You shouldn't be a professional psychiatrist or a professional person who is, having a high education in how to support, people who is having psychological stress to do it. Everybody who get trained well about psychological first aid and also who is having an effective communication skill can provide very productive psychological first aid. What are the components of the psychological first aid? There are a few steps that we could address it during providing of the psychological first aid. First one, you need to look. It's called look, listen, and link, 3L. Look, you should look to the surrounding of the area that you are going to provide your psychological support. Is this safe for me? For example, you are going to do some psychological support for the people who is COVID-19 positive. What is the proper way that I will provide this? Maybe you should be creative. You should, for example, think about online. You should think about, maybe a phone call. You should think about many simple measures that will keep you safe and also help you to provide an effective psychological first aid. What, for example, if I am going to visit some people who is suspected to have COVID-19? What, for example, if I am going to visit some people who are sitting in the isolation? All these, I should think about it and I address my safety first and also think what is the proper way. I should collect some background information, get a clear idea and picture about how I could approach best to provide an effective psychological first aid. The second L is to listen. Usually, to provide an effective psychological first aid, you should be a good listener. You should listen effectively, and you should show that you are, respecting the people who are speaking with you. You should respect their dignity. Also, help them to keep, their autonomy. If, for example, they refuse to provide information or something, you should not be pushy. You should be also honest when you are listening to the people. Don't also give promises. You should also respect their culture. respect also their, willing. For example, if they refuse to get, psychological first aid or continue with the session, you just tell them that I am ready for you anytime. If you would like us to continue in another time, you could just, contact me with like this and like this. And there is another, we start with look, after that listen, and the third one link. After you get, you link them, you now assess the situation, you get what they need, you provide, you try to satisfy their, essential needs first, so they will feel comfortable when you provide your psychological first aid. The best way to build a rapport with the people and to build a relationship is to help them and to provide their essential needs. Sometimes COVID-19, maybe they need more information about it. When you look about the information, you should give them from reliable resources. You should stress with them that don't follow the rumors. You just take it from the Ministry of Public Health, or you take it from the World Health Organization website, because this is reliable. We can trust them. There is no rumors, and we will tell them to minimize their contact with more information, because this will make them, more panic and more stressed. After that, we could also, for example, if they need support, to contact their families members. If they need also to contact with other supporting bodies, we should help them with that. This will help them to get more, self-reliant. Our aim is to make them, instead of looking to themselves as people who is having COVID-19, to become like a positive people in doing self-care for themselves, to help them to become more resilient in the future and to have excellent recovery in the future. Another thing we should, stress with the people, that the people who is having COVID-19 we shouldn't not stigmatize them. We told them that for example, these people are the COVID families or the COVID cases. Because these people, after they get recovery from the illness, they will go back to their work, they will go back to their families, and we try to reduce stigma for them. And also, the final thing, we should also acknowledge the work that is done by the health professional to help us to, go beyond this, COVID pandemic. And in the future, inshallah, we all can, overcome this pandemic in the future. Thanks a lot.